Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. There are so many reasons that I love recording this daily tech podcast, but I do consider myself very fortunate in speaking with people that are building an exciting future for the digital age. An age where trust and transparency are the new currency, and we say goodbye to that old way of doing things and build a brave new digital world. And recently on this show, we have spoken to the amazing Tammy Camp from Stronghold, who spoke about working with IBM and Stellar, and of course Ricardo, or aka Fluffy Pony from Monero, not to mention the guys at Eternity and Dfinity. And from these conversations, it's clear to me that there's a real movement developing here. And I've not felt this way since the internet first arrived on the scene, where I was connecting with a USB robotics modem and setting up my first website on GeoCities. Man, they were the days. But the internet took time to evolve. And I think we often forget that the internet took time to evolve because it was relying on analog phone speeds to begin with. But we're now in the digital age of the internet. We can expect things to move at a rapid rate. And I'm already seeing this. We have the world's biggest banks getting behind Ripple and Bill Clinton, of all people, speaking at their upcoming event. And it's a clear indication to me that this isn't just a few tech geeks. Big businesses, Wall Street and leaders are now entering this space. Which brings me to Lisk. Now, I've been following the Lisk project for some time now, and the decentralized blockchain application platform is quite a mouth-watering prospect. So I invited them on the podcast today to bring everyone up to speed about not only the great work that they're doing and the future that they're building, but also how education in blockchain is at the heart of their objectives. Now, they recently launched the Lisk Academy with the goal of spreading the power of blockchain technology as far and wide as possible through a comprehensive educational platform. So I'm genuinely excited about speaking with the guys at Lisk, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Berlin in Germany so we can speak with Thomas Schouten from Lisk. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Thomas. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you very much for introducing me. My name is Thomas Schouten. I'm Dutch. I'm the head of marketing at Lisk. Joined the project almost since the beginning, right after the ICO, actually, as the first non-developer on the team. And since then, building steady out the marketing and communications team to over 15 people at the moment. And have been with the project involved for 1.5 years right now.
So for many people listening, Lisk is one of the most exciting projects in the blockchain and crypto space at the moment. But equally, I am conscious there's going to be a few people listening that are eager to find out more about what problems Lisk solves and also the role of the Lisk token. So could you bring everyone up to speed and offer a bit of an overview to answer these questions that you must get asked at least twice a day?
Yes. Well, absolutely. It's a very valid question because even internally, sometimes this question is being answered in a different way. Some people see us as a blockchain application platform. Some people see us as a framework for blockchain, and some people see us as a cryptocurrency mainly. And actually, none of them are false. They're actually all correct. It's all combined what Lisk is. So I'll take you back a little bit to the beginnings of our ICO and why our ICO was pretty successful for the time being. At that time, I have to say. So the idea was that both founders, Max Kordek and Oliver Beddoes, the CEO and CTO, they had the impression that the adoption of blockchain was struggling. There was not many developers getting to know blockchain in a more easy understandable way. It was known through Bitcoin, but also the association with more the dark web and so on didn't really attract a lot of developers at that time. Of course, also other bigger platforms like Ethereum was in a different state than it is at this point. So the main goal was to make an accessible and user-friendly blockchain application platform, and which other programming language is suitable for that than JavaScript, one of the most commonly adopted blockchain and master blockchain of programming languages in the world. So the ICO took place like February, March 2016. We raised 14,000 Bitcoins. At that moment, it was worth approximately $6 million. So in the current ICO times, it's not always that high of a number. But at that time, it was definitely. And we got cheap Bitcoin. So the price went up. At some point, we, as the foundation, we had over $500 million in funding, actually. with a pretty small team. Of course, with the current prices, it's significantly less. And with that money, we're building how I describe Lisk as a blockchain application platform that focuses on education, accessibility, but yet being very powerful. So I mentioned already, like, we are building an SDK and a software development kit, or we also like to refer to as a sidechain development kit in JavaScript, utilizing Node.js for developers to deploy sidechains, which is something also another commonly asked question: what is the difference with Ethereum, where everything happens on the main chain? In Lisk's case, we're striving to make it very easy to deploy your own sidechains. You can see it as a fork, more or less, but in a much more slim and easier way. And on top of that, we provide great documentation and with a very strong focus on UI, so user interface. So with a very easy to understand user interface, for example, our Lisk Hub, which is this one-stop shop for sidechain management eventually, but at the moment like a wallet and the Explorer functionalities. That's in regards to what is like the main value proposition for Lisk. If you look at the token, we are legally registered as a utility token in Zug in Switzerland, where we are officially headquartered, although the main development, marketing and operations happens from Berlin. The biggest chunk of the team is based there, including myself, and I'm also calling now from Berlin. And the token is a utility token. So of course, some people refer to it as a cryptocurrency. In all our communication, we try to avoid that. Why? Because we think it's not really, it can be used to pay. Of course, you can say like it's this amount of worth maybe in fiat currency, and if you have to pay back for a sandwich, you can definitely send Lisk tokens. But it's more, the plan is more to utilize, to operate with a network. So at the moment, it includes sending transactions, so paying for it. You can think of it as gas on Ethereum, for example. Vote for delegates, because we're running a delegated proof of stake consensus algorithm. You can register a second passphrase, so add an extra security layer with the tokens. And eventually, when we reach the point of the SDK, the sidechain development kit, and people can start deploying sidechains and conduct ICOs on Lisk, they can, for example, utilize the Lisk token to register a dApp name, for example, but also to deploy a dApp itself. And the latter, the deploying a dApp or a sidechain, that's where all the complexity and comes in place, and where our science team is working on so hard these days.
Now, one of the things I absolutely love about the story behind Lisk is how the founders realised that we need to make blockchain technology more accessible to everyone. And considering that most of the popular apps out there, such as Uber, and even the web itself runs mostly on JavaScript, like you said a few moments ago, why reinvent the wheel? So are there any use cases that you can share with people listening that will help them visualise how real-world adoption of Lisk would look?
The thing is that there's a clear kind of also strategic and business approach to which kind of use cases does platform ABC promote, right? And we know that, if you look at Cardano, they are to which my knowledge goes, are focusing a little bit more on the financial applications in the Asia region. And you see that clearly, like, for example, EOS has like, I think, as a slogan, like decentralize everything, and so there's like some platforms are more focusing on particular applications or use it as a proof of concept. Since JavaScript is so widely adopted, and we really think that providing a framework for blockchain, it should be, in essence, at least in the beginning, being utilized for many different use cases. If you look at the Web 2.0 frameworks like Ruby on Rails and Django, the traditional web frameworks, they also don't limit to a specific use case, isn't it? So that's a little bit also where the CTO, Oliver Beddoes, is struggling with to define particular use cases we want to either include or exclude. And I think it's also a little bit up to the creativity and the entrepreneurial drive and vision and cleverness of the developers and entrepreneurs that utilizing Lisk to prove us, to show us or show the world, actually, not only us, what the first killer app on Lisk should be. That being said, of course, we have a few projects lined up they already expressed their interest in the Lisk project, including the Sapiens project, Madana, which is announced as the first ICO on Lisk, and they're now in the process of whitelisting for their pre-sale. So it ranges from utilizing our blockchain for, like more immutable database applications, data storage, all the way to more responsive decentralized ledgers that are great for user-centric networks, processing and controlling flow of values such as data usage, which helps each other control and monetize their internet activities. This is what I'm referring to as the Madana project. a database, you can monetize data. So I think at the moment, again, it's rather more a business decision than a technical decision to include or exclude different applications. And I think phase 2, when the SDK comes to full-fledged alive, we will see where the focus goes to. I mean, most applications at the moment, also that comes out of research we do within our community and beyond, are the financial-oriented applications, are more the sort of no-brainers, or the use cases that makes most sense at this point. But I'm thinking back, I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm thinking back of the internet adoption, and we also didn't know what to do with the internet at some point, or mobile telephones, and now we definitely know. So time will tell.
Fantastic. Now, something else I wanted to talk with you about today is the most recent quarterly index from Upwork, the freelance employment site. They identified blockchain development as the most highly coveted skill in the freelance job market, growing more than 6,000% in Q1 last year alone. However, the sudden spike in blockchain jobs comes at a time when blockchain education offerings are still quite limited, creating a chasm between supply and demand for those proficient blockchain developers. So as somebody in this industry, can you tell me more about the Lisk Academy that you recently launched with the goal of actually spreading the power of blockchain technology as far and wide as possible through that comprehensive educational platform?
Yeah, I think that what we try to do is have like a consistent strategy across sort of embed our strategy of making everything accessible and easy to understand across everything we do. So, if you look at the technology stack, it is written in JavaScript and very proper and easy to understand documentation, which is aligned with that core mission kind of to make everything more easy and reduce complexity and lower entry barriers. If you look at the other side of the spectrum where, for example, what I'm leading is more like the educational marketing side of things, where with the Lisk Academy, we take away a lot of different questions ranging from the basics, like what is a cryptocurrency and what is a block and what is a chain, all the way to what is proof of burn, for example, and going in detail about different consensus algorithms. And I really want to point out that what we're doing with the Academy is not only talk about DPoS, the delegated proof of stake, which is our consensus algorithm, but actually we are explaining about every consensus algorithm we can think of, and write a very comprehensive piece about it as well. Of course, it leads traffic to the Lisk platform because it's highly SEO optimized and there's a lot of content. Sure, I will admit that, but it definitely is in line again with the mission we have to make everything more widely adopted. And the thing is, there's two things to it. Like one side is yes, sure, there's the jobs with blockchain knowledge. Blockchain jobs are increasing in demand by either blockchain projects or more traditional companies out there. But that's actually not so much need. I mean, if you look at the people that we hire, the vast majority has a strong interest into blockchain and cryptocurrencies, either from a marketing business, but often, of course, from a technology perspective. But it's not a hard requirement to start working for Lisk or for any other blockchain platform. I mean, our consensus algorithm is to do with game theory, with psychology, with voting, so politics, economics. So many different streams of knowledge come together, and we all need those people. And so it's a little bit of a misconception that you need to know exactly about blockchain before you apply. That's to begin with. But on the other side, the Lisk Academy is not really to educate people prior to when they apply for jobs in our industry. It's more to lead the way, to pioneer the adoption, but also very simple, just to inform people so they can, more quick develop on Lisk. So there's now blockchain basics and blockchain business. So it covers the basic topics and the more business related topics like use cases and how does it affect my business or my future startup. And we have many different pillars or courses upcoming. Now we just launched blockchain for kids. We're building out blockchain use cases and so on and so on. So we have a more advanced track. And we are now currently in the process of basically redoing the whole academy from a design perspective and create an educational platform which you can compare with Coursera, Udacity, and so on, like the bigger educational platforms. So where everybody comes together to learn about blockchain and of course also a little bit about Lisk. There will be courses also tailored to Lisk in particular, and some will be more covering topics that are more broad.
I'm quite conscious that we've got a lot of kids in school and students in university and college now, and there's a lot of pressure on them because essentially in many cases the traditional education is giving them skills to the analogue world that's no longer there, and they're having to try and learn skills for roles that don't even exist yet. So what steps do you think need to be taken to ensure that next generation of blockchain innovators and developers have those right platforms to build those relevant skill sets that they're going to need in the future?
Yeah, if the assumption is the blockchain is like the next big thing and it is kind of essential for people to know what it is, I mean, I would love that, of course. But if you think about, internet is such a vital component of our society, actually. And I think that, like if you ask around on the streets, if people can explain how the internet works, I doubt whether you get like a one proper answer in a few minutes. So it's not always necessary for everybody to understand exactly blockchain. There's like a technological knowledge and understanding, but it also really depends on what kind of project you are looking at. And then there's like the concept itself. Do people understand actually what the concept is of blockchain? And I think that's important to know. And then there will be also people that use blockchain because there's like maybe the laggards, they don't know, they are checking in for their flight in the airport and it goes over blockchain technology and they actually don't experience or they don't know that it runs on blockchain, So there's like different degrees to which extent people need to know about blockchain. If you think about like which skill sets, I mean, so what we're trying to do is with this blockchain for kids module, educate really on this kids level. And it's not, and you will be surprised, and that's my assumption at least, is how many C-level people, managers in companies are, sneaky going through that course to check out what it actually is blockchain because they heard it on the news. And their colleagues were talking it over coffee, talking about it, and I really didn't get it so much. So it's not only for kids; it's more about the level we're talking about is on the kids level. And I think understanding peer-to-peer communication, and understanding networks, understanding how the internet works, and a little bit, all the different components of blockchain are by itself not very new. If you understand that it involves cryptography and knows a little bit how cryptography works. I mean, doesn't mean that you can code cryptography itself. Then you come a long way, I think. And I think there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs that will stand up and they know how to utilize blockchain without being able to code blockchain.
Now, one of the things I love about what you're doing here is that education is crucial to the future success of any technology. And it also represents a great opportunity for everyone listening to this conversation right now. For example, the Lisk Academy features dedicated simplified guides on blockchain development and use cases, how-to video tutorials, and an array of additional information too. And in many ways, it feels like with the Lisk Academy, you want to make blockchain more accessible to everyone, from the technological novice or the aspiring developer to long-time veterans and innovators of the high-tech scene, and like I said a few moments ago, of all ages. And we are living in a time where the media reports that the traditional roles are being replaced by tech and the machines are taking over. But I don't think we talk enough about the opportunities around these new skills. I mean, do you think we're entering a period of great opportunity?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for me, like, I think I saw a tweet of the CEO of Binance that quoted an applicant that said, like, he or she decided to work for Binance or at least apply for Binance because blockchain is a decision for life. It's not a career decision. And I was like, wow, that's actually so much true. I mean, if you look at, we believe so much about, in blockchain, the people that work for Lisk at the moment, and I'm sure the people that work for other projects is for the same reason. So yes, it is a great opportunity. Do I agree that it will maybe eliminate jobs further down the line? Maybe, yes, sure. But will there be new jobs created as well? I mean, for example, look at smart contracts. Smart contracts have a lot of benefits, automated execution, very reliable, immutable, it avoids corruption and so on. So I think there's truly big benefits from societies all across the world to benefit from blockchain technology, and would still be maybe a notary to maybe verify or create those smart contracts, but just in a different fashion. So I think it just changes rather than replacing particular roles, and it also creates new business models, which I'm very excited about since I'm having a business degree, business background. For example, I think like node as a service. There's a lot of people that would like to stake their coins or be part of the network, maybe for DPoS networks, including EOS, including Tezos, and of course Lisk itself. but they don't have the technical understanding to deploy Node themselves, a full Node, and start forging in the case of Lisk. So developers or technical people that can provide for a fee nodes to other people, that's a new service, a new business model, which is completely creates new jobs. And also universities and educators should look into that. There's a good fit between the educational side in life and the actual working side of life. There's a good match. Not that people need to, teach themselves different skill set, but that people know already way in advance what kind of skills they need to work in particular industries. Same for custody. I mean, like Coinbase is now opened up this Coinbase custody. Another business model I can think of, like keeping, private keys safe. Something, maybe in the beginning more in a centralized fashion, which is kind of in contradiction with what we're striving for, which is decentralization. But there's so many different things, like everywhere where there's a lack of knowledge or where there's a lack of adoption or anything that is hard to do, there's other business models and new jobs to jump right into and provide that service and to create new jobs. So very interesting times we're heading towards.
Now, there does seem to be a real vibe that everyone in the blockchain community understands that facilitating the faster adoption of blockchain by the general public is a high priority now. I mean, is that a trend and something that you're noticing too?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Like, if I understand your question correctly, like we will gain from it 100%. And then faster adoption is something that in particular Lisk is striving for to facilitate. Yeah. But there should also be use cases that bring actual value. And I think what we're going to see is in the next 5 years, a lot of very good proof of concepts, something that Ethereum platform is already proved to be part of. And slowly we are shaping towards use cases that are being widely adopted. I think before we have maybe national-wide, so on the whole country, like a use case that are maybe adopted by or developed maybe even by the government, will replace maybe current traditional ways for the government to operate, just as an example. I think it will take a while. The same for the currency. I mean, the currency, like in terms of like Bitcoin or stable coins, etc. I have like one particular use case, which is very clear. But again, before that get widely adopted, I think it will take a few years before we get to there. So yeah, we are kind of like giving our best to make it more widely adopted with things I mentioned before in the interview. But the urge is definitely there. For people to educate themselves about blockchain, and it's very interesting. Obviously, like it's very interesting because a lot of people make a few gains off of the trading, and that either is not going to be the case in the future or will definitely decrease. So that should not be the main motivation, right? The true adoption of blockchain comes through use cases and not just through trading, of course. So yeah, there's a lot of aspects to it, I would say, and it's also a bit of a personal opinion.
I'm so glad you said that, because there are, 1,700 different coins out there and different tokens, and some offer value and some may be scams, and some are going to disappear over the next few years, I would imagine. So, I mean, how do you see the blockchain education landscape evolving and the blockchain space itself evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, there's so many coins, and I wouldn't say that, it's hard to judge which ones are actually legit, right? And they have a legitimacy in the terms of like, they created value, but that could be created by people are fearing to miss out on the next gains, like what I was just saying. And if you just narrow down to, for example, the currencies, there's even in the top 50, if you follow like the coin market cap valuations of different currencies, there's quite a few, and they all have their different traits, but the same goes for platforms, right? And they all tailor to a specific niche, maybe, and I think that's key to adoption as well. Like, for example, if you look at AI has a little bit of a similar adoption curve. It's probably a little bit ahead of blockchain at the moment, I feel, and very very specific niche maybe applications. Think about an eye operation which is being optimized utilizing AI. This is something people can relate to, and they say, okay, this is something that works and we can start to make it scale, or maybe not only for an eye operation, but for other operations as well. So I think, referring back to the use case question you had, I think it is very necessary that we pick a few use cases, go hard on those use cases, both from like the business marketing, but definitely also the technology perspective, and build those out. And then from there, we will see which ones work and which ones are not working. And I'm super convinced, I'm not sure on which time scale, but there's going to be, in the current coins, they're going to disappear quite a bit, I feel, and people are going to lose money over, the coin holders, they're going to lose money over devaluations. But on the other side, there's going to be a lot of new projects that are established maybe by more established firms. So let's say that there's big, like Fortune 500 companies getting into the space, and they were like looking from the side a little bit like what's happening. It's all a little bit shaky and shady and risky. Same, by the way, goes for investment firms. And they slowly start entering this industry with a lot of knowledge and a lot of money and resources. So this will shake up a little bit the industry. And I think the very early adopters and the hardcore believers in decentralization and blockchain, this will, the amount of people that you consider into that group, that will shrink a little bit. I think it will dilute a little bit. The main value drivers in the beginning will be either replaced or will be new motivations. Why blockchain is the future will be added to that pool of motivations for people. And I think different platforms and different coins will follow different principles and core values, and they will find their followers and their community to support them and to keep developing it. And you see the same with political streams, for example. So once again, time will tell. I think it's very clear what Lisk is standing for, and we will stick with that for the future.
I couldn't agree more. Well, before I do let you go, is there anything else that you can share with us about Lisk, the Lisk Academy, or maybe even offer a teaser over what to expect in the future?
Well, obviously, like the very biggest milestone, actually since the beginning of Lisk, is that like 1.0 on mainnet is around the corner. So our first major release for the core of Lisk, the core code of Lisk, and written in JavaScript, obviously, and that's like to be released. We're soon going with the last release candidate to testnet, and soon after that to mainnet, and that sets the foundation for like this blockchain application platform. So what does it mean? It is a complete overhaul with a complete redesign. It took us maybe a year of delay to design it, because if you envision a platform with thousands of sidechains being deployed, it starts today to design how can that be scalable and how could that work? Because if you build something and then eventually you come to the conclusion that some things are, not being properly designed in the beginning, or it's not scalable, and something that we also see, of course, with Ethereum at the moment, and if something is live and a lot of things are running already on the platform, it's pretty difficult to adjust or to pivot the model at that point. So that's something which is very, very important to get the foundation right. So that's like 1.0 is in terms of technology. Obviously, like we have like multiple PhDs in the team. So there's been a lot of research done within the team in regards to sidechain deployment, sidechain tokens, deposit and withdrawal. So that's like super interesting to be part of. Only a small piece of that we share at the moment, and that will slowly open up to the public to be part of that discussion and the research. In terms of Education Academy, we're adding many, many, many more modules and courses to the Academy. I already mentioned a few before, and we will slowly build that out. An important one is Blockchain Builders, which is basically, when the SDK is there, is a whole module within the Academy that takes a developer, in this case a JavaScript developer, by their hand and guides them through the whole process from ideation all the way to testing of your sidechain and your application built on top of it. I think what we also need to do is inspire people, like what is blockchain capable of. That's with the website, with offline workshops, going to conferences, talking to people, writing blogs. You can do it in a variety of ways. So the education inspiration phase won't stop for the coming years. And where we're getting closer to the enablement phase, how we call it in our roadmap, then you can clearly see that we are focusing on adoption of blockchain, and then we're going to go full force on that. Another thing which maybe I can give you the sneak peek, we are super close to release Lisk Mobile, which is a sort of slim version of the Lisk Hub. Well, first, what is a Lisk Hub? It's like this one-stop shop for anybody to interact with the Lisk network, because we believe that if you have no proper design, the masses are not going to adopt it. Look at Coinbase. What is the reason why Coinbase is such an amazing company and such an amazing wallet or platform to build and trade currencies? Is because they did design absolutely right? And they're still changing, optimizing along the way. So getting design right is not priority in our industry, but it is at the moment for Lisk. And with the Lisk Hub, we try to achieve that. We have now the first version is out, and we're now building with a new design agency a second version, and that one is going to look absolutely stunning. I think it is industry breaking, at least for the current, what you see in the industry. More like towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, I think we're going to see more about that. Same goes for Academy website, by the way, complete overhaul with all the information and knowledge we currently are getting from the community to just build a better blockchain application platform we envisioned in the beginning.
Sounds like you've got an incredibly exciting and bright future ahead of you guys. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to be wanting to find out more about Lisk Academy and indeed Lisk and roadmaps, white papers and so forth. So can you remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online, and also maybe reach out to a member of your team or member of the community that if they've got any questions at all?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine that we get overwhelmed with the amount of questions, both positive and negative. But we have an amazing community. I mean, we have since the beginning, since day one, we have veterans in the community that are helping us out, moderating from their hometowns all across the world, moderating like Reddit, moderating Lisk Chat. So I already mentioned 2 platforms where I really encourage listeners to reach out to and to check out. It's lisk.chat. It runs on Rocket Chat. It's an open source chat platform. In-depth discussion happens there. That's the place where you can find your peers and where you can have discussions about sidechains and everything that happens on the Lisk platform, including trading and all kinds of topics. Reddit, I mean, it's huge in our industry as well. We have a lot of followers there, some serious discussions going on there, and also some entertaining discussions. Twitter and the blog are our main source for official communications, so announcements and more elaborative explanations in regards to product releases and dev updates, team expansions, and so on. We're also, since a few months, I think, on the Blockfolio alerts. So definitely, if you have Blockfolio, add Lisk to your favorite, and you get with Signal, you get the latest updates. So that's definitely good also for the traders that are listening to us. And I really, really would encourage people to download the Lisk Hub. So to go to either GitHub or go to our website, lisk.io/hub, HUB, download the Lisk Hub and create your own Lisk ID. You get a Lisk avatar, which is unique to your profile. You can start playing around with the network and be introduced to many different features. So that's like the door to the Lisk network, and not many people find that door yet. So we're very much putting efforts with marketing to let people introduce them to the Lisk Hub as well. So that's the last thing I want to really encourage people to do. Download the Lisk Hub.
Well, one of the first things I said on here was that many people see Lisk as one of the most exciting projects out there in this space, and it's so easy to see why. And having listened to you there talk about how you can reduce complexity and the barriers of entry and educating people, but ultimately leading the way by delivering value and showing real-world use cases, it's just so refreshing to hear. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
One of the biggest takeaways from today's episode for me is that almost every day we're hearing about whole job roles are disappearing and rise of the machine, automation and technology is responsible for removing thousands of jobs. But what we don't talk about is the new roles that are going to replace those redundant skills that are no longer required. And that is called progress. For example, 30 years ago there were no social media analysts, web developers, digital managers, etc. But there were people typing and filing for a living. Right now, we're entering a digital age. Cybersecurity, blockchain, AI, machine learning skills. These are all skills that are critically low and high in demand. And for me, this represents a huge opportunity to start learning and mastering these skills that are in huge demand. Whatever you or I think, we cannot go back to the past. We can only move forward. And I think it's critical to educate people that are being displaced from those traditional roles and help give them opportunities and ensure that everyone comes along for the ride. But we, as individuals, we have to take those opportunities too. And this is why I applaud Lisk for launching their academy with the goal of spreading the power of blockchain technology as far and wide as possible. And they're doing this through their comprehensive educational platform. And we need leaders to give us the steps needed to be taken and ensure that the next generation of blockchain innovators and developers have the right platform to build the relevant skill sets. So by featuring dedicated simplified guides on blockchain development, use cases, how-to video tutorials and a vast array of additional information, the Lisk Academy are clearly aiming to make blockchain accessible to everyone from the technological novice to long-time veteran and people of all ages. And in making blockchain education interactive and enjoyable, and removing obstacles to its integration into the broader economy, and of course by introducing its benefits and potential use cases to the world at large, the Lisk Academy will facilitate the fast adoption of blockchain by the general public. But you've listened to our guest, Thomas, today from Lisk state his case and how he's leading with his actions, and you've heard me and my opinion, which you might agree with, you might disagree with, or you may feel that we've missed a glaringly obvious point in today's episode or another side of the argument. And this is where I hand over that virtual microphone over to you, because I want to hear your views, your insights, your expertise. And you can share those by emailing me directly, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweeting me at Neil C. Hughes. I'd love to hear how you're feeling about the future and the role of technology and what it will play in it. But that's it from me today. I have another show to prepare for now about how technology is affecting another industry. But I do sincerely hope that you'll join me again tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.